And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata. And I apologize again for all of you rugby fans who are more of my international fans that are just really excited about all the matches that have been going on in this Women's Rugby World Cup. But again, this video is only going to really be focusing more on the USA one. I promise you, once we get to the knockout rounds, which sadly, I feel, unfortunately, USA will probably not advance any further. I will go into a little bit more detail in each of the knockout rounds of the teams that are in there, and we will follow it to the very end, which it looks like it's going to be a pretty exciting finale for the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup edition. So this is going to only be focusing on the final pool match for the USA Women's in Pool A, taking on number 15 ranked Samoa. It's, again, this is kind of a winner or go home situation for the USA. Obviously, the win does not guarantee them anything, and a lot of things have to happen in order for the USA to advance further into the knockout rounds, which chances, as much as I'm a USA fan, just do not seem that high. Also, too, we will be talking about the really exciting, if you missed it, highly recommend, again, Paramount Plus. You can watch every game of the Women's Rugby World Cup. You can watch the upcoming remainder of the matches for the Pacific Nations tournament that the USA men's are going into, that obviously I will be talking about in my next video. But if you missed that USA women's versus Australian women's Wallaroo match, you missed out. It was a super exciting match, which we will talk about in just a moment. Again, this match coming up with the Samoan women's team is taking place at the York Community Stadium, which was the place where the Australian women's match is. Saturday, September 6th, 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff. So obviously, if you're on the West Coast like I am, you might not be waking up that early for live rugby, but again, you can watch it on demand on Paramount Plus. But let's talk about the match before that, the Australian match. Again, kind of a win or go home for the USA women and for the Australian women as well. And boy, what a match it came out to be. In the match, pretty much Australia's defense very, very dominant in this match to keep the USA at bay. Also, too, gotta recommend the Australian women's team. Their strategy was really to keep the ball out of the hands of a lot of the USA women's playmakers, Erica Kula-Bailey and Cheta Emba. I don't even think Cheta Emba touched the ball at all in that match. Kula-Bailey was able to touch the ball once or twice, and I'll talk about that in the second half, where when she touched it, it led to a score for the USA Women's. But Australia's defense really kept the USA Women's power playmakers from touching the ball. But on the flip side, as I mentioned in my preview video, the Australian firepower came from Desiree Miller and Caitlin House. Desiree Miller and Caitlin House both scored 2 tries in this match. They are definitely lightning in a bottle. They kept the USA women on their toes. Score, though, was 14-5, so very respectable score at the half. Frida Tufuna scored her first of a hat trick in this match. At the halftime, 14-5, then the USA women just started ramping it up. You really saw in the second half the USA women really were motivated because they knew everything was on the line. Like I mentioned before, Frida Tufuna got her 2 tries for the hat trick. May Sagapolo got a try. That one was set up by Erica Kula-Bailey, who finally got a chance to touch the ball. She went about 50 meters before she was taken down, but was able to offload it to set up the May Sagapula try. Australia, though, again, like I said, Caitlin Hulse was able to get her second try. That allowed Australia to take the lead 26-17, but then Frida Tufuna got her hat trick to get the score up, and then Erica Jarrell Searcy scored her second try out of 2 games. She's been so dynamic. She's played really, really hard in the first 2 matches. She has definitely been the MVP of this team, I believe. Allowed the score to be 31-26 with 9 minutes left. But unfortunately, right after that Erica Jarrell Searcy score, Australia scored again, and because Amanda Wood, who's been very good off of the tee, was not able to convert the try, the score remained 31-31. It ended in a draw. I hate draws. Worst thing to happen in sports. Definitely horrible in rugby, but that is the way that the pool games work. Ended in a draw, though USA and Australia both scored 4 tries, so they both got a bonus point, 3 points apiece. But with the way that the math works, and because Australia was dominant in their win against Samoa, they defeated Samoa 73-0. That allowed Australia to have quite a bit of a point differential advantage over the United States. So United States again has to have a lot of things happen in this upcoming match with Samoa in order to have any inkling of moving on into the knockout stages. So with that being said, let's focus now on the final game in the pool. I'll put up the USA women's roster right here. And, not a lot of changes of this roster from the overall roster that's been playing the first 2 pool games. The only one that you do gotta have to notice, Cheta Emba is out of the roster. She's not in the reserves or the starting lineup. Don't know if she got hurt, though Ella Kilter, who was out of the second game against Australia, she's back in the lineup, though she's in the reserve at the 23 spot. Gabby Cantorna moves into the number 12 spot for this match. Her first start in the Rugby World Cup. That allows Emily Henrich to move over into the right side the right side winger, and then in an interesting development, starting at fullback, the very dynamic Soraya Ibarra. I've mentioned her name numerous times. Young, exciting talent. Started in the USA Sevens team, was able to earn a couple of caps with the USA Women's Eagles, and her very first Rugby World Cup for this 2025 edition. I believe this is her very first start as a Eagles. Only 6 caps under her belt, so that's very, very exciting for the young, dynamic Soraya Ibarra. Other than that, basically the same lineup that, like I mentioned before, has been showing up in the rugby pool action here in Pool A. I don't have a lineup for Samoa, and again, unfortunately, Samoa, ranked number 15, lowest ranking in this pool. This is just their 4th Rugby World Cup in their history of their existence. The first Rugby World Cup that they've had since 2014. They didn't qualify for the 2017 edition, and unfortunately the 2021 edition, COVID was running amok at that point, and Samoa had to bow out of that Rugby World Cup. USA and Samoa have only faced off against each other once, and that was back in 2023 during the WXV division competition. And in that match, surprisingly, the score very, very close, 36-26. So Samoa, maybe might prove a little bit of difficulty for the United States, though should be noted this Samoan team, one of the youngest squads in the entire Women's Rugby World Cup. 4 out of their 32 rostered players has 15 or more caps. 4 out of 32 with 15 or more. One of them, the only one that I can really kind of highlight, Sui Tua Paraisa, the captain of the squad, 24 caps. That's now she has 26. That's the most caps of any player on this squad. So a very, very young team. And if you look at the scores that they put up so far, 92-3. That's right, 92-3 against England just recently. 73-0 against Australia. USA have a chance to run up the score, and they have to. If you look at the standings in Pool A, and I'll pull them right here. USA is behind both Australia and England. England is going over regardless. Now, whether they'll finish first or second depends on their match with Australia, which will be a very fun match to watch. In order for the USA to have any chance to jump over Australia, they have to hope, first of all, that Australia gets no points in their game against England. That means they can't get a bonus point for 4 tries or more, which is possible, and they can't have a losing bonus point within 7 of England. That one might be a little tricky because I believe the England-Australia game will be close. But also, too, not only that, the USA have to win by a substantial amount. They have to win by more than 62 points. And then, on top of that, Australia has to lose by more than 73 points to England. That, don't think it's going to happen. I believe the Australia-England match is going to be much, much closer than 73 points. USA beating Samoa by more than 62, that is a possibility, as I mentioned with the before-mentioned scores between Samoa and the other two Pool A teams. So, again, it's a little early to say this, but definitely kind of a disappointing Rugby World Cup for the USA Women's. Again, there's a possibility they can make it into the knockout stages, but it's a good possibility that this will be the end of USA's trek in the Rugby World Cup. Disappointing to say the least. Definitely we're hoping for USA to get into the knockout stages at least. With that being said, that means the next Rugby World Cup for the USA women in 29, which is in Australia, USA will have to qualify for that throughout qualification methods, because only the top 8 top 8 women's team in the knockout stages advance to the next Rugby World Cup. So USA women, possibly through the Pacific 4 competition, or maybe through the WXV competition, they'll have to earn their way into that Rugby World Cup. So, again, short video. Once again, make sure if you are a USA fan, I know, especially on the West Coast, a little early to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to watch the game. But again, Saturday, September 6th, again, lots of rugby on Saturday for USA fans. Morning is going to be the women's. In the evening, afternoon is going to be the men's in the Pacific Nations Cup. So if you're a rugby fan, you got to get Paramount Plus. That's the only way that you can watch legally these games. Again, if you can't wake up early for the 5:30 a.m., which I won't either, I'll be honest with you, you can always watch it in demand on Paramount Plus. Root on the women. I mean, this will still be a nice finish for the USA women. Also, watch the Australia-England match. Will be fun to watch as well. But yeah, it might be the end for the USA women's journey in this Rugby World Cup. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching my video. I always appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the pitch. Go USA!